All right, here we go.
Okay.
Here we
All
go.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, this is good. So now we've got a big bunched up field here, which is pretty good. So everybody's had a rethink, and which is always good, and have that opportunity to do this because, as we say, this is a bit of a learning platform, and I think it's good for the people who are viewing it to see how we're actually handling this. Um, we got a little bit of feistiness going on here at the front,
See
and
that.
it's interesting. Yeah. So. Where are we? Okay, so we've got a nice line here going on. So we've got the transformer car with the pro guy Nelson in the front. We've got the um, it looks. I'm not sure exactly who's in the stem car, but actually doing a really good job this time around. Um,
There we go. So we've got a pretty nice lead there. Looks like
yeah,
they're
he's
all in
doing
a.
well, and I think the stem car with our Scottish STEM student in it, who's really doing a good job. I mean, his whole learning curriculum is exactly this: is how you transfer the knowledge you're learning, and say the automotive section of it into this. Now that's really good to see. So it looks like Ben's got himself up and going. Who's our data guy. Another little quick learning curve going on there. The second white car there. Uh, Paying
We can
attention.
love that.
They've got to remember this. This is a real. Pay attention to what's going on. A lot of people have got to learn this in real driving.
Yeah, we see some love taps happening, right? People getting those packs are getting a little crowded there.
Yeah, I think what we've got there is the learning curve at the beginning about being, let's be good to all. Now we've got the competitive spirit back into it. So, and this is of course the balance. Um, Aggression but firm, but not over aggression. Big thing, as we say, to win you first must finish, and that's a big thing to remember.
Love it. Yeah, we can see that few people as we're up on lap 2 now. Looks like the white transformer car and the stem car are still holding the 1 and 2 spot.
And it's good to see the Zotac cars now. The white car is just there. Is the Zotac gaming car? Is they get they're taking some good lines here now. They're settled, starting to understand what this is about. And again, this is a lot to do, not just with the individual. I think they're all conscious of this media on them, and that's something a lot of people aren't used to. That they're under a bit of their own pressure. That there's people watching them, and they're not just operating inside their own little bubble. And this is the learning curve of what this is all about. What D3 eSports Cup is for me going to teach. It's going to get everybody more in tune, and as this develops over the weeks, we'll start to see this bunch up, and people start to get a little more competitive, a little more respectful of what their opponent's doing, and that's a life lesson.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that in the Zotac car, uh, one of the owners is one of his sons is racing in that one.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we were sort of come. I mean, I know Scott Cowan from Scotland is in the STEM car, and as I say, I think he's on a pretty severe learning curve, but doing a really good job. And we're starting to see, for instance, now we've got 5 cars all pretty close to each other. And in the first rerun, I mean, we had 2 cars and everybody else drifted away a little bit. So, this is really showing, how this will develop, and people haven't got to be embarrassed or worried about how they actually progress. This platform of like we're all doing, like speaking, like having to go in front of people, people who are aware that the world is watching what they're doing. This is not just about their own individuality. But on the other hand, you are only you driving the car. It's just you. So you can't ask for any help from anybody.
And so, for our audience out there that may not know some of the details around the car, what are some of the specs that stand out the most when you're driving an LMP3?
Well, with these cars, we particularly set the setup, let's say, so that they can't adjust it to make it a little bit better for them or adjust how they drive it. They're all set up exactly the same, so it's like a spec racing series. As they develop through lots of formulas, the drivers have chance to make adjustments to how they make the car better for themselves. So you'll find there's different styles here. Some people brake a little bit later. Some people want to find that they can run quicker down the straights than others. They feel more attuned going through the corners in a better way. And as we look through the different drivers as they pull up, I think Brandon Wang now is settling himself in the Zotac car really well. And I think it's as we get used to the drivers and the companies they're representing. We're seeing Brendan going there up past the pill. This is a big uphill section. You don't see it in the game so much, but you've really got to come out the last corner at the bottom very securely. This first corner, as we see Brendan coming up behind one of the Cyvis green cars, is pretty good. He's just passed him now. Run a little bit wide. He's probably seen him coming and he's just moved over a little bit to try and give him some space. And these are some great learning tactics.
And so, typically on a race like this, how often do you change, tweak and change the car? Do you change tires often? What are some of the things that are happening on a real race?
In a race like this, where we call this a sprint race, so we got 15 laps, so there is no driver change, there is no tire changes. You can't touch the car. People say, "Oh, can you alter the car from the pits?" No, you can't. What the driver starts with, he must stay with. So managing the tires is extremely important. So as they'll learn here, overworking the tire early on is very detrimental to how their performance comes together later on. Having any contact, where they can really damage the car a little bit. We have a thing called, a reset here, which actually doesn't eliminate somebody from a lot of damage. But, in the real world, if you damage the car, you're going to be out. That's going to eliminate you from the event. So you have to be very, very mindful of that. And these are things that as we go on through the tournament, we'll probably start to enable a little bit more. So people pay a penalty for that. We saw there the red car went a little bit wide. It's allowed the white car to get very close to him now. He's got to clean his tires up. There's a lot of dirt. As you've seen there offline. He's going to struggle with that for the next few corners. That's going to give the white car a little bit of an advantage to get up alongside him, as you're seeing here. They've just got to fight clean here while they do that. We're going to go into a very quick first corner at the top of the hill. We'll see here if line is a good place. And we're still seeing that the red car strung a little bit with grip. I think in Nelson's position here, he's playing self, and he's being cautious. He's only part the way through the race, and he's an experienced gamer, experienced professional. Will be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, you can see that it's getting a little chippy out there between those two. They're definitely trying to get a good position on one another.
Absolutely, and again, I think you've got a classic here of professional driver, gamer, and an experienced gamer engineer, and it just shows you as engineers come through the business, they can actually through racing learn how to make changes, what to do, and they can put some of those experiences that they're learning virtually into real practice, and that's what we really want to see. So it's a respect for each other. And I'm a big advocate, as you know. I use this word respect quite a lot. I think sometimes people can be very insular and they don't understand a little bit about, like we're doing here, that when this event is over in the next few laps, we start to go into discussion about what companies are, and we start to bring marketing in. There's a lot of math element in putting this package together. There's a lot of understanding, computer literacy. So there's all the different talents brought together that people don't see afterwards. We've got a nice view there, the Cyvis car. Always looks great and green. And I think Sydney and his partner there will be, and I know he hasn't had a lot of time to test either. So there'll be a little bit of frustration, I think, in his world, because as I say, he's raced on a real world, and he's a pretty competitive guy. I think his business has shown that they're growing quite dramatically as well. So I think some of the attributes he has into competitive gaming is also brings over to competitive business.
Definitely. Yeah, you can see the Vibus car there. Got the American team car too, who's in the mix. We're about a third of the way through the first race, and so the pack is kind of broken out. Right, they were tight leading into it. Now there's clear positions that everyone's fighting for.
Yeah, and I think for us this was a clear objective to try and showcase, the different levels of an experiences really about how somebody's coming into this, about what their target is. What is my goal to achieve? And this is where motorsport particularly is extremely brutal. I have to say that it's again, we say there's no prisoners taken in this game. You can't hide from anybody. You're out there, you're on your own. You've got to make those calls yourself. All of these are purposely built as two-car teams, so there's two of each car, and both of the groups have two different levels of experience in driver. It's interesting to see that the Transformer cars at the front here is showing a lot of on-track scars. It's got a lot of dirt on it. Obviously slid off the road a little bit, a few times. I think a lot of that is exactly what happens. The car probably its tires are wearing as we're getting halfway through, and
Sure.
controlling the car now is going to be a little more difficult. So it'd be interesting to see, how Nelson in the white car has maybe managed himself during the race. Although we see a lock up there. So
We're
here's
planning
a
and
classic
patience.
at the front.
I was saying this is where planning and patience pays off, right? You can see they're trying their hardest to keep within the line.
Absolutely, and that, I think we're seeing the third place car is still in contention. I mean, I think that's the important thing, is that there's some learning going on here. There's a little bit of racing going on in fifth and sixth. We do know been a couple of mechanical errors, and as I say, I have to emphasise that this at the beginning is this first round. This is really interesting to see how this is panning out, because this is not a traditional esports platform where most of the people have got on it have spent hours practicing. We've got people who have never ever, up until probably yesterday, ever even sat in one of these cars. So I think it's an attribute to what's there. So we're still watching two different disciplines here at the front. I think Brandon, I believe, although we haven't seen the Zotac car, is sort of hanging in there in third place. He's learning a few skills. Here we are. We've got the STEM car now. Still running really well. Pleased to see that. We've got the Cyvis car now, still rotating well. And I don't think I would say that, remember, on this track, probably a lot of these drivers have never ever been to Road America, and as you've seen it, here we
Yeah.
are. coming up one of the sections, it's very hilly. You go over a crest there. The cars lose quite a lot of downforce. You got to remember these cars aren't just mechanical grip; they have aerodynamics to them, and that's something again is a learning curve to a lot of people.
Yeah, I know. When I was in the sim a few weeks back, I got a little confident around going up the hill. You felt like you can open it up a bit, and as soon as you come over the hill, then you meet that turn, and for an unexperienced guy like myself, I was not expecting that. That turn was not too generous to me.
Yeah, no, and I think that is, and I think as we've seen that when we've spoken to some people who've driven, who've just come into cars, they think, oh well, I can go on a track, and yeah, I'll be really good, and actually in real terms, a lot of people just fly off the road. We see it at MSR at our track, which has a lot of what they call runoff area, so you don't see a lot of damage, which is really good, but overconfidence and not really respecting of the car they're driving, and I think we see that sometimes in road use. And we know that some of the insurance companies we talk to, I love the idea of learning a little bit about respect here. We're now starting to see the guys passing some of the cars, which you'd expect. So they're picking up some of the guys on track that they're now going a lap down. Um, this is something that'll improve as we sort of move along. And it's also why we really try to focus on this first element, that we didn't have multiple cars on it. We focused on getting 16 groups working rather than something like 30 or 40 cars, so that hopefully we've avoided any car contact, and everybody's got a little bit of time to learn what they can do themselves as individuals.
Absolutely. And we're coming up on almost 2/3 of the race. Kind of going into the last third of the race. What are some of the things that the drivers need to be measuring and monitoring?
Well, I think at this point, if you're running in a scoring position, so we're looking here at the first and second position. We're seeing, that the second position car is, as I explained earlier, he'd been the transformer car had a couple of offs. It's probably got dirty tires, holding grips going to be a challenge. So he's really got to get the car to finish. I think the white transformer, our pro car with Nelson, is where I probably expected him to be. He's managed his tyres well. Brandon, I think in third is doing a similar thing. He's probably got himself in a position here. I need to get across the line, and I need to finish. I think Sivers is in fourth. We've lost a little bit from the American Brands car early on. I mean, again, there's two guys never ever sat in one of these cars. So I think as they regroup at home, and we'll say in English, they sit down between this race and the next race and have a cup of tea and have a think about it, and work out the next little element. The next time out on track's going to see, probably a similar thing at the front, but we're going to see the guys more bunched up.
Absolutely, a lot of white knuckles out there. People are just trying to get through the race, right?
Yeah, but again, when we look at the map, one and two are very close. Threes, to be two corners back, and I think for Brandon not to have been in this before, we've got 4 and 5 and 6 actually pretty close to each other. There's a little bit of an event going on down the field there that'll be interesting to see how they close the gap up. The other two guys, I mean, everybody here is doing a good job. We know we've had a couple of technical failures early on, and hopefully they're going to be addressed for the second event.
Absolutely. Yeah, then we see the Zotec car. We've got the Zotec trying to get caught up, trying to get out of third, trying to see if he can get in a second.
Yeah, it's pretty visual, which is good. He's in a good position. He's in the middle of somebody putting a bit of pressure from behind. He can see the car in front that he's got to catch. He's got to be careful. He's coming to the last few laps of the event. He doesn't want to, make a mistake at this point. He needs to maintain his position, and I think he's doing a a really good job here. You're seeing he's not going off line. He's actually following the track really well. We're seeing here the stem car now going through again. Good position. You see there, good little bit of footage. His position here coming into the last turn up the hill. A little bit wide there, but actually doing well. I think again, learning that probably the rear tire is the one that loses the most grip here. It gives you an indication here as you're climbing the hill here. It's pretty dramatic climb up to the top, and the guys really come to a very, very tight right-hander here. And when I say tight, it's just a feather off the throttle, and they really got to hold their speed. We're looking at the Cybis car now coming into the last turn. He's coming up the hill here. Maybe a little bit of a position change, which would be nice.
Looks like the Vivis car got passed. Then we still have the Transformer car in the lead, but got a few people on his heels. So going into 4 laps to go. Let's see if he can hold that out. Again, this is not easy. We've got a little bit of a pack going on there too.
Yeah, and it's good to see the guys that are using the mirrors. We saw lead car then come up, to pass somebody and moved over, gave them space. These are all important things. And sometimes, when you're traveling at these speeds, looking in your mirrors is difficult. And it's something you've got to learn just to glance over with the corner of your eye and be able to work out in your peripheral vision about where that car is and how close it is. And even when you're passing somebody that you might have passed before, is to learn that car can still fight you for position. They may not understand that you're actually lapping them. So this happens in the real world when you're watching real racing. But sometimes the guys who are being lapped don't quite realize that the car lapping them is actually not fighting them for position. So they'll give them a hard time for a few laps. It's pretty frustrating for the person who's trying to actually fight for another position to get stuck like that. But that is part of what being aware of what's going on the track around you is.
Absolutely, and this is an ongoing tournament, so it's about learning, improving, getting better each and every race.
Yeah, I mean we have had a couple of DNFs, which is inevitable when you start with this. And as I said, the great thing with this, hopefully, virtual can fix the problem quicker than in real time. And I think we got a good little battle going on here at the front, and they've done nothing but swap positions 1 and 2 throughout the event. And it's pleasing to see that. We saw the Cyvis car go a little bit wide there, and you see the puff of dust coming up. These tires know they've collected dirt, so the driver's got to be aware for the next couple of corners. He's got to be aware that those rear tires might still have some stones in them, and he's got to get them cleaned up so he can't push too hard. But I think we're now in the final stages of those laps.
Yeah, we're coming up on wrapping up our 12th lap here, so 3 more to go. Ben's been consistently in the lead, but he's got somebody coming up on his rear, so I'm sure he's looking out that rear view mirror pretty consistently.
Yeah, I mean these two have been running, and again where we expect we put two. Again with Nelson, we put a top pro guy in the car and who's a gamer, and we got Ben, who's actually our transformer data engineer, who was really a top gamer, and the pair should be battling with each other as they have done. And then we've got the other guys coming up, staying at it, keeping it clean, respecting what they've got to learn here, and car control. And this is where they're all going to be able to sit and think about how they've got to attack the next event in a better more more controlled way, I think.
Absolutely. And you talked about some of the things that you're conscious of while during race day. How much does the elements play into this as well? Being that Road to America this time of year is probably pretty hot. Does that impact performance?
Absolutely, and I think we looked at it before that Elkhart Lake can be extremely humid. It's typical northeastern state. Wisconsin. It's in the lake area. You get a lot of humidity. It affects the cars quite a lot. It affects the drivers. Even driving a sim, I think it's hard work. This isn't something. Everybody's either in the home environment, and I think the car itself does get affected. We see it greatly, but fatigue, even driving 15 laps like this is quite hard. It's you've got to concentrate. If you lose concentration, then make a mistake. So focus, all the things you've got to actually pick up are really, really important. And putting the package together is what this is about. It isn't just looking after the mechanical grip. It's looking after your own mindset. It's controlling yourself. It's organizing what you're trying to achieve. And this is where I think this is going to be a great leveler. And I think after the events, when we get on chat rooms afterwards, and people say, "Well, look, I did this. What should I have done right? Should I look at this? Should I look at that?" And everybody will communicate with everybody, and that's exactly what you're trying to develop here—a community that ultimately, as we build in the future, what could be watch parties where people can't attend a race. People who don't actually get on the game, they may have a company may have a lot of their people watching their car online, and now they're all brought together, and they may off the game be actually racing, and that is something that where this just grows and grows and grows. I mean, I think it's a fantastic marketplace to get everybody really in tune with what they're doing, and I think Mainline, in their respect here, have done for the first time. We've got a lot of people here watching this, and a lot of effort gone behind in the back room to bring this to reality. And we also can just learn from this.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, this is great seeing, just how it's all come together and, you know, in real time how these drivers are just they're doing it. They're the world is being connected through this platform right now, and we've got uh, we've got real drivers driving uh, sims. Love it. Coming up, we've got finishing up our 14th lap here. Uh, Clearly, Ben has been in the lead and he's holding on strong to that. But anything can change in a lap or two, right? You've seen that.
Yeah, there was a look. I mean, there was a lot of them. I mean, and again, I think you mentioned the Sims. You've got to remember on the Forza platform, you can virtually race this game with a joystick. I mean, you don't have to have a sophisticated simulation program. Ben has one here. I mean, it's if you say it's a hobby of his, it is. I mean, he's a data engineer guy. Nelson has a full simulator. Um, some of the guys are just working off a standard. You can buy a Forza wheel and pedals, and there is quite a bit of difference in that. So, but this is really why we've used the Forza platform, is that from this you can go and buy one. You can get it online. You can put it on your kitchen table. You can sit in your deck chair if you want, and you can use this and you can get involved in it. And that is what this was about. It's how you reached a huge audience and get families involved in it. Mom can get involved, the guys' girlfriends can get involved, everybody can get competitive, your kids can get on it. And that's what we really liked about it. Of course, at the beginning, you're seeing this disparity a little bit between the performance, but that isn't a negative. That's exactly what this is about.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. Shout out to Forza. They've got a great product, and Microsoft has done a great job putting that platform out there for kids of any age to jump in. Looking at this, we've got on our last lap, got Ben, who's got about a 4 or 5 second lead ahead of the next car. Got the STEM car still in it. Got the Vivis car is still in it. Uh, got a few that did not finish, but the beautiful thing is that, like we mentioned, they get to do it all over again.
Yeah, and I honestly, as we've all said, this first event, this first race this is a huge learning curve for a lot of people, and that's what was about. There had to be a group to show how you can do it, and that's an important thing. We have the other people who are learning about it, and we'll be able to sit down in the next break and think, wow, you know, I need this sorting, I need that. We might have a few sim problems, a couple of issues where the equipment needed just refining a little bit, and just understanding about how that works. And that's the same in anything, in any life. Imagine taking a job. We've sent somebody into Microsoft, and they got to learn for the first day. They're not going to go and do everything and kill the world at the beginning. That's going to be learning from other people, and that's what this is about. It's information transfer, and that's as we build data transfer from real cars to people. We want to see everybody up there.
Absolutely. We got the Zotac car coming in now, getting ready to come up on the finish line. There we go. Few more cars out there, just wrapping it up for our first race of the day. For those that tuned in, thanks for tuning in. We got two more after this, so we're excited to see how this all shakes out.
Yeah, I'm pleased to see Don's finished here in the other team Transformer white car. I mean, I know he got in this right at the last minute, and I think he's done a good clean run. He'll have learned a lot from it, and I'm really looking forward to as this develops through today, and then really what happens in the next week tournament.
Absolutely. Looks like he's just finishing up on the pack. We've got our few more cars left out there to finish. STEM car coming in on the turn. Love it. STEM cars really up in their game throughout this race. They've stayed within the lines and taken the turns crisp and clean. Okay,
Okay.
here we go. Just a few more guys out there finishing up. And as we said, this is an ongoing tournament, so positioning and finishing is really critical as we roll this out over the next few weeks.
No, I think it is. I mean, as we saw, we could have probably put a lot more cars in this. There was a lot of interest building, but I think as we've seen in some other sport, in other tournaments, when you get too many cars, it's very difficult to get a really clean event. And so as this builds and develops, and it has stability, and that's the main thing that we've developed with Mainline. This is our own tournament. And I think that as it's managed in that way, this will just grow and grow and grow from this point onwards.
Definitely, yeah. And this is, as the time progresses, teams are going to get stronger. We're going to see a lot more competition amongst not just the racers but the teams. And every week, the variables are going to change on them, so they've got to bring their A game each and every week. I think we got the business car here wrapping up, coming up to the finish line. All right.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, we got the last few coming through. Yeah, I think Carlos, that's it's great. I mean, we've gone through the first 15 lap event here, and nobody knew what we were going to walk into here. It's very easy to look at. I would call, we've seen a lot of fantastically run esports platforms, and I think the fact that Microsoft and and Forza took on what we were doing here with a very different program, and Mainline were able to really look at how this was going to be handled in a very different way to their very successful,